In progress.
Very good afternoon to the viewers. Today's VCM on impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality, being hosted by Chittorgarh branch of CRC of ICAI and organized by the one of the oldest technical committee, the Research Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We have galaxy of panelists with us, including my chairman, CA Anuj Goyal ji, the chairman of research committee as well as chairman of committee for capital market and investors protection, the senior most council member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We have the presence of hosting branch chairman CA Rakesh Kumar Sisodia ji, very learned speaker of the day, CA Ramkrishna ji, CFO Ocean Sparks Limited from Hyderabad. We have Vaibhav Somani ji, Treasurer, Chittorgarh branch of CRC of ICAI. We have CA Nirav Doshi ji, Sikasa Chairman. We have, in absentia, I would acknowledge the contribution of BK Das ji. He is supposed to join very soon, and CA Yogesh Kabra ji. So, and Nirav Doshi ji, Sikasa Chairman, Chittorgarh branch of CRC of ICAI. Not taking much time, I would request CA Rakesh Kumar Sisodia ji, Chairman, Chittorgarh branch of CRC of ICAI, to offer his welcome address. Over to Rakesh Sisodia, sir.
You are on mute, Sisodia ji.
Respected dynamic chairman of research committee अनुज जी गोयल, CCM, जो 14 वर्षों से हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट की सेवा कर रहे हैं एज ए सेंट्रल काउंसिल मेंबर, और सबसे पुरानी कमेटी रिसर्च कमेटी के अभी चेयरमैन का दायित्व और कैपिटल मार्केट कमेटी का भी आप दायित्व निर्वाह कर रहे हैं। आज के लर्नेड स्पीकर वी रामकृष्ण जी, CFO स्पार्कल लिमिटेड, टीम रिसर्च कमेटी अमित जी गोयल, गिरीश जी, अमित जी चित्तौड़ ब्रांच के, वैभव जी सोमानी ट्रेजरर, नीरव जी सिकासा चेयरमैन, इन अब्सेंशिया रिसर्च कमेटी के वाइस चेयरमैन प्रमोद जी बूब साहेब, ब्रांच सेक्रेटरी बीके डाट, ब्रांच वाइस चेयरमैन योगेश जी, एवं सभी आज की वेबिनार में भाग ले रहे सभी विद्वान से साथीगण, सभी को सर्वप्रथम 73वें CA स्थापना दिवस की अग्रिम बधाइयां, अग्रिम शुभकामनाएं। साथ ही मैं अनुज जी गोयल का भी हार्दिक आभार व्यक्त करूंगा कि जिन्होंने चित्तौड़गढ़ ब्रांच को आज की यह वेबिनार होस्ट करने का अवसर प्रदान किया। वैसे भी अनुज जी गोयल का चित्तौड़गढ़ ब्रांच पर हमेशा ही वृद्ध हस्त रहा है। आप हमेशा हमारे प्रेरणा स्रोत रहे हैं। आपने हमेशा हमें मोटिवेशन प्रदान किया है। हमेशा एक जुझारू व्यक्तित्व के रूप में सामने आए हैं कि हमेशा कैसे काम को फास्ट करना है, किस तरीके से काम को अंजाम देना है, ये आपसे सीखा है हमने, और आप हमेशा हमारे मार्गदर्शक रहे हैं, मार्गदर्शन करते रहे हैं, भविष्य में भी आप करते रहेंगे, ऐसा ही हमें विश्वास है। आज की वेबिनार जो टॉपिक लिया है ऑडिटर्स के रोटेशन वाला, वो टॉपिक भी बहुत ही अभी समय की मांग के अनुरूप बहुत अच्छा टॉपिक है। मैं सोचता हूं कि सभी हमारे सीए बंधु इस टॉपिक से लाभान्वित होंगे। इस अवसर पर ज्यादा न बीच में बनता हुआ पुनः सभी का हार्दिक आभार, हार्दिक अभिनंदन, धन्यवाद। जय भारत, जय आईसीआई।
Thank you, Chairman sir, for your blessing words and welcome words. Now I request CA Nirav Doshi ji, Sikasa Chairman, Chittorgarh branch of CRC of ICAI, kindly take a brief profile of CA Ramakrishna ji, the worthy speaker of the day. Over to Nirav Doshi sir. Sir, you are on mute. Nirav sir, you are on mute.
थैंक यू सर। आज के
ये टेक्निकल सेशन बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट और हम लोगों के लिए बहुत ही नॉलेजेबल रहने वाला है। इसके लिए मैं सीसीएम अनुज जी गोयल का, चेयरमैन चित्तौड़गढ़ ब्रांच राकेश जी सिसोदिया का, सभी का बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करता हूँ। आज बहुत ही लर्नेड स्पीकर रामाकृष्णा जी इस टेक्निकल सेशन के मेन स्पीकर हैं। उनका ब्रीफ प्रोफाइल आपके सामने रखता हूँ। ए फेलो मेंबर ऑफ ICAI with more than 30 years of experience in industry in India and UK. He is responsible for financial management, taxation, fundraising, financial reporting, audit, budgetary and cost control, treasury and forex management, and project evaluation, etc. He had worked in different industry like telecom, fishing, pharmaceutical, LPG, port management sectors, etc. Presently working with Ocean Sparkle Limited, a Hyderabad-based port management service company as CFO. तो आज इन वी रामाकृष्णन की लर्नेड स्पीच से हम लोगों का नॉलेज इंक्रीज होना है। आगे के लिए मैं फिर से अमित जी।
Thank you, Nirav sir, for taking a brief profile of our worthy speaker, CA Ramakrishna ji. Now, as a custom, I would request CA Vaibhav Somani sir to kindly introduce our worthy chairman, CA Anuj Goyal ji. Over to Somani ji.
Thank you, sir. A very good afternoon to all. I'm glad to share profile of our Central Council member, Shri Anuj Ji Goyal. CA Anuj Ji Goyal is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. With his 14 years in council, 3 years in regional council, and 6 years in branch, he contributed immensely in various capacities. Presently, he is the chairman of Research Committee, the oldest committee of ICAI, and Capital Market and Investor Protection Committee of ICAI. He is also the vice chairman of Corporate Law and Corporate Governance Committee. With exemplary academics, he also possesses CS, CMA, LLB, MCOM, DISA, and DIRM, which motivate our young members to pursue multidisciplinary qualification. Thank you. Over to you, Amit sir.
Yeah, thank you, Vaibhav Somani ji, to kindly introduce our worthy chairman. And before I request my chairman, C. Anuj Goyal ji, for his opening remark, let me share with you the vision of my worthy chairman, who evolved such kind of VCM that with my 15 years of post-qualification, post-doctorate of experience, I never seen. Let me share it with you. I think all of you will be echo with my views that today's topic on impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality, it is a topic of research which is being taken up by our worthy speaker Ramakrishna ji, who is a CFO in a very, very big MNC. And my chairman is having one view. I think it's a vision that speaks, his qualification that speaks, the experience that speaks, with his exemplary academic qualification as a CA, CS, and ICWA, LLB, MCOM, DISA, DRM, and many more. He's the person who understands the subject gravity. With his 14 years in the council, 3 years in the region, and 6 years in the branch, and that too as a chairman of ICSI, ICWAI, and ICAI, and a chairman of regional council, then chairman of various committees. That makes sense. That shows the vision behind this choosing of this topic. Why I'm emphasizing on this topic and the vision, because the very purpose of having this VCM is to receive suggestions from the audience. That institute has taken up one study on receiving suggestions on impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality. So none other than our chartered accountants can offer valuable suggestions, so that before even initiate this study, to start with, we will be receiving suggestions from our members that will help to build knowledge, that will help to build the proposal in the real sense, and that can be done by a visionary leader only. Kudos to my chairman, who has given us the idea that we should call a VCM we should receive suggestion from our members, that because for the namesake of the study, we should not go for any study. We should be partner in national building. We should be known as a research-led institution. That can be done only and only when we, with the brigade of 330,000 chartered accountants, if we involve all our members with a transparent manner in any of the research initiative, I think that can happen through these modes. First, we will be receiving suggestion on these topics. Then our learned speaker will be sharing what is going to be done. So members at the second end, they will be understanding the nitty-gritty and insight of the topic, based on his literature review. Because I have seen his proposal, he has done a wonderful task. Ramakrishnan ji had done a wonderful task. He will be sharing with us the already available literature. What is the hypothesis? What is going to be done? What is the modus operandi? What is the research methodology? What is the expectation of this research proposal? And through suggestions, I think we will be in a better position. And I'm quite sure that the research finding would be in a very, very, very insightful. And with the findings of the research proposal, I think we would be coming out with all of the members before finalizing this, that these are the draft findings of the research proposal, so that once we are going to any regulator, that we will say it's not a study by Ramakrishna ji, it's not a study that is visioned by Anuj Goyal ji, it is a study of all 330,000 members. With these words, I would urge my chairman to offer his ice-breaking session, who can guide us what are the initiatives that had been taken by the research committee, and he will break the session. What is the boundary of this whole discussion? He will draw a line. So with these words, I request my worthy chairman, Sri Anuj Goyal ji, for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Amit Kumar Agarwal ji, our young and dynamic secretary of the research committee, as well as Committee on Capital Markets and Investors Protection. We are having the presence of CA Amit Agarwal ji also, who is contributing for the research committee in a great way. And of course, the leaders of the profession from one of the most prominent branch of our Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, of our central region of Rajasthan, Chittorgarh branch. Of course, blessed by Maharana Pratap ji. We are having the chairman, very, very dynamic chairman, Sri Rakesh Kumar Sisodia ji. I welcome Rakesh Sisodia ji on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and on behalf of the Research Committee. We are having Neerav Doshi ji, our past chairman and Sikasa chairman, my brother from Chittorgarh, and CA Vaibhav Somani ji, young and dynamic leader of the profession, our Dhan Kuber of the Chittorgarh branch. And of course, our honorable resource person, our honorable guest speaker, CA Ramakrishna ji, CFO Ocean Sparkles Limited, who is contributing like anything for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, for the Research Committee. He has taken one very, very important research project, impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality. And we are having this virtual CPE meeting to receive suggestions on this research proposal. And I'm quite confident when we will be having the suggestions in advance on any research project. So this research project will not only be the research project of one individual resource person, but each and every chartered accountant from each and every part of the world will be the part of that research project. So I welcome all our honorable members. More than 3,000 chartered accountants, I have been told, are live with us in this virtual CPE meeting from each and every part of the country, rather outside country. So that shows the importance of this topic, as well as the magnet of Chittorgarh branch leaders. And I'm quite confident that all our honorable viewers will be really benefited out of the discussions and deliberation which will be taking place on this very, very important topic for the profession, impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality. And friends, we are very well aware that what was happening earlier, that for 25 years, 30 years, 35 years, 40 years, the same audit firm, same chartered accountant was doing the audit of the big entities also. So I think this is a need of our that we should certainly ensure that the auditors are independent, and I'm quite confident when we are having this research project, I think it would be really good for all of us. Friends, uh, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, you are very well aware that 2 days after we will be celebrating our Chartered Accountants Day on 1st July 2021. And from 1st July 1949, when the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India came into existence officially, it was so important for the country, it was so important for the parliament of this country that even before the Constitution of India was adopted by the parliament on 26th January 1950, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India came into existence by a special act of parliament, the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. So this is the importance of the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. This is the importance of the Chartered Accountants for the independent India. And yesterday only in Mann Ki Baat, Prime Minister Modi has re-emphasized the importance and expectation. The most important thing is the expectation. There is no second thought, there is no doubt about it that the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India are the best accounting professionals across the globe. And no member of any other accounting body can be compared with the dedication, devotion, commitment, the excellence which a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India do possess. But when we are the best, we are contributing like anything, and the ex-president of India, APJ Abdul Kalam, rightly communicated in one of the international conference that chartered accountants are the real partner in nation building. So this is the expectation of APJ Abdul Kalam. This is the expectation of the government of this country. This is the expectation of the Prime Minister Modi. This is the expectation of 130 crore pupils of this country from the chartered accountants. So how we can come up to the expectations of each and every individual citizen of the country? I think this is great responsibility, and I'm quite confident that chartered accountants can very well shoulder this responsibility and can very well come up to the expectations of each and every individual, each and every citizen of the country, the trade and industry. And when the chartered accountants, who are the best accounting professionals, will come forward, I think this 5 trillion economic target of the Prime Minister Modi can very well be achieved with the active contribution of the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And ICAI, during its journey of 71 long years, has achieved a remarkable height, has strongly come out as a partner in nation building, and now stands tall behind the strong global standing of Indian economy. The chartered accountants are contributing immensely towards cause of the nation and the profession. I will request all our honorable members, we are having one very important program of the Research Committee on Chartered Accountants Day, on CA Day, and our CA Day will start from by the deliberation of none other than tax guru, Dr. Giri Sahuja ji. From 8:30 in the morning to 10:30 a.m., we will be having the blessings of none other than CA Dr. Giri Sahuja ji on Chartered Accountants Day, on CA Day. And our research committee is organizing that program. So I will request all the members from each and every part of the world who are listening to us to see that we can be the part of that program, and we can celebrate Chartered Accountants Day. We can start Chartered Accountants Day with the blessing of CA Dr. Giri Sahuja sir. All the details Dr. Amit Agrawal ji will be sending to each and every one of you. And please try to disseminate this information to each and every one, so that more and more chartered accountants can be the part of this program. Friends, the Research Committee of Institute of Chartered Accountants is one of the oldest technical committee set up way back in 1955 with a view to undertake research activities to improve the quality of services rendered by the profession. As rightly remarked by one of the renowned philosophers, John F. Kennedy, in a time of turbulence and change, it is truer than ever that knowledge is power. So therefore, with an aim and vision to continuously update and upgrade the professional competency of members at large by sharing knowledge, Research Committee and of ICAI endeavors to conduct professional courses, workshops, training programs, and virtual CPE meetings and webinars for the cause of the profession and the nation. Sisodia ji, in this time of threat to the mankind, in this time of crisis of the corona pandemic, we decided that whether it is the research committee and the chairman since last year, or whether it is the committee on capital markets or investors protection, we decided that we will have the best of the programs. We will have the maximum number of programs with the help of the best of the resource persons on the best of the topics, so that our chartered accountants can be engaged in the knowledge enrichment and can be away from the negative thoughts and negative news which is there everywhere in this time of corona pandemic. And I'm really very happy to share with all of you that we got wonderful response, extraordinary response of the members from each and every part of the country, rather outside country. And this research topic of the research, everybody was thinking that this research is not very close to the heart of the chartered accountants. But let me tell you, when the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, who have passed the toughest examination of the world, are the best suited professionals to contribute in the field of the research. And we have got extraordinary response of all the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Friends, let me talk about the research committee initiatives. For the first time in the history of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the research committee, ICAI Doctoral Scholarship Scheme was launched. This ICAI Doctoral Scholarship Scheme is open for all the members of the institute who are pursuing PhD and are not more than 40 years of age. ICAI Doctoral Scholarship Scheme aims to provide scholarship to the eligible candidates having outstanding academic record in 10th and 12th standard and an inclination and commitment to undertake research in the areas such as auditing, taxation, commerce, management, and accounting discipline. A scholarship of 50,000 rupees per month for 3 years will be given to 5 scholars, and I am quite confident that the eligible candidates, chartered accountants, will certainly come forward and will be the part of this ICAI Research Scholarship Scheme. The last date for the submission of the application is 31st August. So I will request all the leaders of the profession from Chittorgarh and all the members who are live with us. More than 3,000 chartered accountants are live with us from each and every part of country and outside country. And I will request all of them to please disseminate this information so that more and more chartered accountants, young chartered accountants can come forward for this scholarship scheme. Then ICAI Research Project Scheme. Neeraj ji, for the first time in the history of the institute, for the first time in the history of the research committee, Rakesh ji, we have come forward with ICAI Research Project Scheme. This ICAI Research Project Scheme is open for members having experience of more than 10 years, either in practice or in employment. And maximum amount of rupees 10 lakhs will be disbursed. And there is no profit element. Only the expenditure has to be reimbursed. And the applicants will be given the time duration of 6 months for completing the research project. And let me tell you, Rakesh ji, Vaibhav ji, that last year we launched this scheme. I was the chairman of the research committee last year. Also, Dr. Amit Agarwal ji was the secretary and CA. Amit Agarwal ji is also the part of this research committee. And in spite of corona pandemic, last year it was badly affected whole of the year. We approved 7 research projects under ICAI Research Project Scheme. All the 7 research projects were completed within the given time frame of 6 months. And the findings of all the research projects were very, very good, not only for the profession, but also for the nation. We have handed over the findings to the various government departments, state governments, and central governments. And in this way, we are proving ourselves the true partner in nation building. Then ICAI International Research Awards. For the first time in the history of accounting body, any accounting body has come forward with ICAI International Research Award. The award should be considered as the world's largest cross-border competition with an objective to encourage and provide recognition to research scholars across the globe and their contribution in fostering research studies leading to innovation and value creation. The scope of the ICAI International Research Awards would be to identify the topics of international and societal importance, encompassing areas of accounting, auditing, economics, finance, and taxation. This year, in spite of the fact that this year is also very, very badly affected by corona pandemic, and we took charge only in the month of March, and the last date was 31st May only. So we hardly got 2 months for this ICAI International Research Award. But in these 2 months, we have received an overwhelming response and got around 138 nominations. And we believe that this initiative will be high-flying and contribute immensely to the research domain. So we have got 138 nominations from each and every part of the world. Last year also we got 100 nominations, and the chairman of the international jury was the immediate past president of the International Federation of Accountants, IFAC, and the president of International Federation of Accountants, IFAC, was one of the member of the jury. So such a important jury it was, such a powerful jury it was, and this year also we are having the IFAC president, International Federation of Accountants president, as the chairman of jury. This year we are trying to have this award ceremony at Dubai, and you are very well aware, all the members must be very well aware that we are having very, very strong presence of the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. In the Middle East, in the Gulf countries, around 25,000 chartered accountants are there, Vaibhavji, and I'm quite confident that this initiative of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India Research Committee will go a very long way. Then ICAI Awards for Excellence in Financial Reporting. ICAI through its Research Committee has been making sustained efforts since 1958 to promote high-quality financial reporting through the annual awards competition, ICAI Awards for Excellence in Financial Reporting. And Ramakrishna ji, in this, entities are being recognized for following sound financial practices amongst their peers, and the awards are open for the corporates to submit their annual reports in order to recognize and encourage excellence in preparation and presentation of financial information. Last year, we have received the highest number of entries for the awards in the last 7 years, in spite of the fact that year was affected by the corona pandemic like anything. And this year, we are quite confident that we will be having the maximum number of nominations. Since the inception of this award in 1958, we started these awards, and we are quite confident that this year we will be getting the highest number of nominations. The last date of submitting the entries is 30th September 2021. So I will request all our honorable viewers and all the leaders of the profession from Chittorgarh to ensure that how we can get the maximum number of entries for the ICAI Awards for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Friends, at the outset, it gives me immense pleasure to share that Research Committee has awarded the research project on the contemporary research topic of impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality, and we are having the best of the resource persons, CA V. Ramakrishna ji. And this is under ICAI Research Project Scheme, and with today's VCM on the said topic, we aim to share how the research will be carried out by the experienced researcher like Ramakrishna ji, receive suggestions from our participant members which can be appropriately incorporated in the execution of the research project. We all are aware of the fact that the independent audit is an important contributor to business trust and confidence. The auditors are expected to showcase their independence throughout the period of audit, both through experience and conduct. Lots of responsibilities has been entrusted to auditors under the Companies Act. Friends, whatever may be the regulatory background and the requirements of financial reporting and auditing standards, it is essential. It is essential not to lose sight of the fact that auditing is a practical discipline that relies on human beings. No matter what kind of automation systems in auditing are used, at the end of it, it is the professional judgment and certification that matters. The series of worldwide scandals, collapses like Enron in 2001, Satyam in 2009, etc., have dented the public faith in the integrity of corporate governance and the role of the independent auditors. To cope up with similar issues, various countries have adopted the concept of rotation of auditors in the aftermath of collapses. The whole process of introduction of rotation of auditors was to protect the independence of auditors, highlight the integrity of auditors, and to improve overall audit quality. Therefore, a strong need was felt to study whether the desired objective of improvement in quality of audit and improvement in independence of auditors is achieved by introduction of mandatory rotation of auditors. Conduct an impartial study of the defined audit quality indicators due to introduction of rotation of auditors. Hence, through today's virtual CPE program, we aim to holistically understand and receive suggestions and comments on the research proposal submitted by the researcher on the said topic. Now, friends, without taking further time, as we are very, very eager to hear our honorable guest speaker, C.A. Ramakrishna ji, CFO Ocean Sparkle Limited, to fine-tune the concept and enlighten our knowledge with his words of wisdom and experience on the topic of receiving suggestions on the research proposal on impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality submitted under ICAI Research Project Scheme 2021. So I will not be taking your further time. I will request once again to all of you to please take very, very good care of yourself and your family members. And in this time of Corona pandemic, please try to get yourself and your family members vaccinated at the earliest. All our branches are trying their level best to have the vaccination drive for all the members and their family members so that we can fight in a very, very strong manner against this pandemic Corona. And I'm quite confident that all of us will certainly convert this great threat of Corona pandemic into an opportunity for all of us, for the trade and industry, and for the nation. Thank you very much, friends.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, sir, for your guiding words. And I think through your deliberation and opening remark, you has given us a food for thought and many other things. And not taking much time, now I request C.A. Ramakrishna ji, CFO Ocean Sparks Limited, for his deliberation. Over to Ramakrishna.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I wish to convey my regards and respects to CA Anuj Goyal ji, the Chairman of Research Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, under whose guidance the committee has taken up very many initiatives for furtherance of the research and in turn, furtherance of the profession. I would thank him for the opportunity given to me for pursuing research on today's topic, impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality, a very important topic and which is being discussed for decades and decades. And the importance of this particular subject has become very much now with the Companies Act having passed the particular provision about 7 years ago. I also convey my respects in absentia to CA Pramod Kumar ji, the Vice Chairman of the Research Committee. I convey my thanks to Dr. Amit Kumar Agarwal ji, the Secretary of the Research Committee of the ICAI, who has been guiding me to achieve the desired result out of this task given to me. I also convey my regards to CA Rakesh Kumar Sisodia ji, the Chairman of Chhattisgarh branch of the CIRC of ICAI, for conducting this VCM. I also thank Vice Chairman of Chhattisgarh branch of CIRC of ICAI, CA Yogesh Kabra ji. Also my respects to CA BK Darji in absentia and past chairman and also Chittorgarh branch of secretary and past chairman of Chittorgarh branch of ICAI. I wish to convey my regards to CA Nirav Doshi ji, Sikasa chairman, Chittorgarh branch of CIRC of ICAI, for his kind words of introduction me to the august audience. I wish to thank the brothers and sisters of my fraternity who are present in this meeting by sparing their valuable time to guide me in this journey of my professional pursuit. Research in social sciences can never be complete without the support of the members involved in it. In a scientific experiment, it may be possible by taking the required chemicals and doing an experiment, or by conducting specific observations and arriving at some conclusions and letting the world know of the results. Whereas in social sciences, the opinions and the views of all stakeholders is very vital to arrive at any conclusions. Just now has been mentioned by our chairman of the research committee, Anul ji, saying that the expectations from various forums on this particular point is to be noted. He also said that it is not the opinion or the study conducted by one person. It is the cumulative effort of all the fraternity together and to bring out the important aspect of this to the fore so that it is taken well by the respective stakeholders. My special regards to all those present here. I sincerely request you to help me to reach out to you to seek your opinion and experiences personally on today's subject. I shall give my contact details, email ID, and WhatsApp number in the last slide of my presentation. I request every one of you to take note of the same and send me a text message so that I shall be able to contact you to seek your opinion and experiences. As you know, I have no better means to reach out to you. Now let me share a presentation.
Okay, sir.
As explained, the mandatory auditory rotation of the statutory auditors has been provided under Section 139(2) of the Companies Act 2013. The rotation of the statutory auditor is applicable to all listed companies and other companies as per Rule 5 of the Companies Audit and Auditors Rules 2014. The present research topic is the impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality. The rule is in operation for the past 7 years, and hence we need to see the efficacy of the said provision of mandatory rotation of auditors. To understand better, we need to review certain theoretical aspects and also look into some history. Financial auditing is a process of examining an organization's financial records to determine if they are accurate and in accordance with the applicable rules, including accepted accounting standards, regulations, and laws. External statutory auditors come in from outside the organization to examine accounting and financial records and provide an independent opinion on these records. Law requires that all companies have their financial statements audited. Internal auditors work for the organization as internal employees to examine records and help improve internal processes such as operations, internal controls, risk management, and governance. Basically, it is to establish the accounting statements satisfy certain degree of reliability. Thus, the main objective of auditing is to form an independent judgment and opinion about the reliability of accounts and truth and fairness of financial state of affairs and working results. The independent audit is an important contributor to business trust and confidence. A lot of automation and scientific approaches have made inroads into auditing. Artificial intelligence, robotic processes, sampling techniques, etc. are introduced. Whatever the automation systems are introduced in auditing, they all contribute only for the process of auditing, but at the end of it, it is the professional judgment and certification that matters. As the importance of auditing has been recognized, there are additional responsibilities given to auditors to certify the existence and efficacy of internal financial controls by way of tax audits, GST audits, stock audits, receivable audits, due diligence. These are all the various forms of the trust and confidence of various stakeholders on our auditors. Indian accounting and auditing standards follow the international financial reporting standards and the international standards of auditing with some modifications. Since April 1st, 2016, listed companies and companies above a specified size have been following Indian accounting standards, usually referred as Ind AS, the Indian version of the IFRS. However, academicians and researchers comment that the quality of accounting and auditing is far from exceptions, far from reassuring. But why? Most auditors' reports are clean. There are hardly any going concern exceptions, even for companies that have defaulted on payment of loans, interest, or taxes, or have undergone major debt restructuring. The auditor's additional report on internal financial controls is become mere boilerplate and seldom mentions any internal control weaknesses, even though there are frequent reports of fraud, bribery, tax evasion, and other breaches of law in companies. Shareholder litigation against auditors was unheard of in India until it was recently allowed by the Companies Act 2013. High family ownership and extensive related party transactions raise questions about the reliability of the company financial reports. Various accounting scandals have dented the public faith on auditing and auditors. Just now, the same thing was referred by our respected chairman of the research committee, that the scandals have dented the public faith on auditing and auditors. While all this is going on, mandatory rotation is implemented in Section 132 of the Companies Act for specified companies in India, for all listed companies, for unlisted public companies having share capital of rupees more than 10 crore. It also includes private limited companies having share capital of more than 50 crore. And for all companies, irrespective of the share capital, if their borrowings from banks, financial institutions, and public deposits is more than 50 crore. This means primarily most of the companies are covered for mandatory rotation of auditors. If we see, there were various scams which have happened: Enron, WorldCom, Quest, Satyam, ILNFS. And so I think we need to go into a little bit history of this audit rotation. This is not something new which has just come in the Companies Act 2013. This has been happening the world over, many places, in different forms, in different ways. It is being implemented, it is being discussed. Academicians and researchers have always been talking about this particular subject in many platforms. But one important thing which we also should note is that DuPont company had used this rotation of auditors from 1910 to 1954. So let us look at the history of this audit rotation. This audit rotation was first introduced during the McKesson-Robbins hearings in the late 1930s. McKesson-Robbins was involved in a huge scandal in which the auditor failed to detect $19 million in misstatements of inventory and receivables. McKesson-Robbins falsified the records, and auditor did not question or verify the validity of their financial statements. But what followed after the discovery of this fraud were congressional hearings and attempts by lawmakers to reform the accounting profession. The result was the development of the first formal standards of auditing procedures. That is when the first formal standards of auditing procedures have been laid down. As additional scandals occurred, additional requirements were placed on auditors throughout the 20th century. Recently, the Enron scandal and the subsequent audit failures involving other companies, such as just now as mentioned, WorldCom, Quest, Satyam, Island FS, etc., have again brought the accounting profession back under scrutiny and the issue of mandatory rotation of auditors back to surface. The motivation behind auditor rotation is a public concern over high-profile corporate collapses. In the age of the consumer, demands for public protection must be met, whether or not the behavior of the accounting profession acknowledges it. The role of independent auditor is to protect the public. In his inaugural address, our chairman of research committee was also mentioning the expectation from the auditors by the past president, former president of India, or present prime minister, and the public at large, the trust and confidence which they are reposing on us, that itself shows what is the highest expectations which they have on us. The public sees lengthy auditor-client relationships as a threat to the independence of the auditor. Regardless if these extended relationships are actually a threat to independence, the perception of independence is just as important as actual independence. I remember having read earlier that the auditor is not only supposed to be independent, but should also appear to be independent. And that gives a lot of confidence to the public at large. In the public eye, what is a better way than to rotate auditors every few years to keep auditors independent? To a layman, mandatory auditor rotation is a simple solution that will solve the problem of maintaining auditor independence. However, many do not understand all the issues and risks involved in implementing this regulation. If we look at it, the history of auditor rotation in India itself, here also it is not a new concept in India. The question of rotation of an auditor, way back in 1972, there was a proposal to introduce rotation of the statutory auditors in the Companies Act by amending the Companies Amendment Bill 1972. The object was probably to have more independence of statutory auditors, as well as to achieve more equitable distribution of audit to the younger members of the profession. Lots of representations from members and the institute were submitted to the government again as the proposal. One of the suggestions was to put the ceilings on the audit by a member in place of having complete rotation of auditors. Thereafter, when the Companies Amendment Act 1974 was notified, a clause 1B in section 224 of the Act, Companies Act 1956, was inserted, whereby the ceiling of the audit was provided. This provision was again modified in the year 2000, when the ceiling of 20 audits per partner was retained. However, our institute, by issuing the notification, restricted that the number of audit assignments of the companies having paid up share capital of rupees 25 lakh or more cannot exceed 10 per partner. In short, all these things have been done under the self-regulations. Again, the Company Bill 1997 proposed the rotation of auditor after 5 consecutive years, but this proposal was also dropped by the government on the recommendations of the suggestions received from our members and the institute and all other stakeholders. Unlike other Asian countries, in India, there was a drive for better corporate governance and disclosure. Probably it was a result of the 1992 stock market scam and also the onset of international competition consequent on the liberalization of economy that began in the year 1990, thanks to our former Prime Minister, P.V. Narasimha Rao ji. The initiation came from All India Industry and Business Associations and the Department of Company Affairs. This is another aspect, important aspect, which we need to consider, that how the evolution of the corporate governance has come into the picture. I'm sure most of you also remember the Asian financial crisis in the year 1997. Luckily, the Asian crisis barely touched India. So I don't recall any important events which have happened after the Asian crisis. However, from April 2001, listed companies in India need to follow very stringent guidelines on corporate governance, which rank among some of the best in the world. Sadly, there is a wide gap between prescription and practice. Even worse, adverse legal consequences for the defaulters almost always get caught in the web of inefficiency, corruption, and the intricate dilatory legal system. Thus, while corporate governance reforms in India far outstrips that of many other countries, the performance lags very much behind. On 21st August 2002, the Department of Company Affairs, under the Ministry of Finance and Company Affairs, appointed a high-level committee called Naresh Chandra Committee to examine various corporate governance issues. Among others, this committee has been entrusted to analyze and recommend changes, if necessary, in diverse areas, such as the statutory auditor-company relationship, so as to further strengthen the professional nature of this interface. The need, if any, for the rotation of statutory audit firms or partners, which means even in 2002, the Naresh Chandra Committee has been given the responsibility of finding out whether there is any need for rotation of statutory audit firms or partners at the point of time itself. And also they were given the mandate to find out the procedure for appointment of auditors and determination of the audit fees, restrictions, if any, necessary on the non-audit fees. The committee believed certain type of non-audit services could impair independence of auditor and possibly affect the quality of audit. Hence, some judicious prohibition in this regard is in order. The committee suggested various suggestions through which the independence of the auditor can be maintained. The suggestions were basically on the concept that the auditor should not have financial, business, or personal relationship with the client. But the committee did not recommend the rotation of the statutory auditors. I repeat, but the committee did not recommend the rotation of statutory auditors. Instead, the committee suggested that the partners or team leaders or the team should be rotated. The committee also suggested that listed companies or companies having paid up capital and free reserves exceeding rupees 10 crore or companies having turnover exceeding rupees 50 crore, 50% of the audit team, including the trainees, should rotate every 5 years, and the outgoing team can again be engaged for audit after 3 years. I think it looks like that they have followed the European recommendation, wherein also they have suggested a break of about 2 to 3 years only was suggested at that point of time, even in European guidelines. So Naresh Chandra Committee also recommended that there should be a break for the team, at least for a period of 3 years. The suggestions of the Naresh Chandra Committee were incorporated in the company's amendment bill. Important thing to note here is that the ICAI already prohibits its members as auditing firms from offering services such as bookkeeping, maintaining accounts, internal audit, designing any information systems, which is a subject of audit, or internal audit, brokering, investment advisory, and investment banking services. Even so, the committee believed that it is necessary to provide an explicit list of prohibited non-audit services, which means despite the self-regulation instituted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the committee felt that this particular provision should also be incorporated in the Companies Act to give more explicit idea to ensure the prohibition of the non-audit services. With the above background, it can be said that the question of rotation of statutory auditor is now not new, as it was dealt with by the government and so many committees for the last 3 decades. But before further discussing the implementation of the mandatory rotation, it may be helpful to briefly peep into the regulations already in place and also about history of our accounting regulation. Traditionally, accounting has been a respected industry due to its ability to self-regulate. The start of self-regulation started with the creation of Securities Exchange Commission by the Securities Act of 1933 and 1934. India was no exception. As our chairman has informed us just in the inaugural address of the meeting, that even before the constitution was adopted in the year 1950, the Chartered Accountants Act of 1949 was passed and the ICAI has been set up. We are all self-regulated. Quality control, peer review, mandatory communication when there is a change of auditors, limit of number of audits per partner, restriction on providing non-audit services are all the self-regulating procedures to protect the independence and the quality of audit profession. Many such regulatory factors, internal and external, help to ensure that public accounting firms remain objective, independent, and professional. Firstly, because of the work and time involved in developing a strong reputation, which is a CA firm's greatest asset. No firm, I agree, no firm would deliberately jeopardize its reputation for a short-term gain. Moreover, individual professionals also recognize all that is at stake in their personal lives if they engage in any unprofessional behavior. The self-regulations of ICAI have strong disciplinary system in place. Regulatory actions of the Institute under the CA Act serve as the primary enforcer against all firms and individuals that have been found guilty of inadequate performance. Another important statutory regulation is Audit Committee. Audit committees are composed of independent directors not associated with the management. Their job is to check management to make sure that they serve in the public interest, follow all the accounting policies and professional accounting standards. Auditor is to be in continuous discussion with Audit Committee chairman and report if any irregularities are noticed during the audit. The Companies Act has given new roles for the audit committees and auditors. Auditors will now report to and be overseen by audit committees instead of the management. The audit committee must pre-approve all services that the auditor provides, and the auditor is prohibited from offering specific non-audit services unrelated to audit services and other services the board determines by rule to the impermissible to clients. The auditor must report additional information to the audit committee, including accounting disagreements and relevant communications with the management. Every statutory auditor presents to the statutory audit committees the mandatory communication which need to be communicated. Despite of all these regulations and accounting profession's continued assertion of its ability to self-regulate, auditing failures due to collusion of auditors and company management still persist. All of us are aware of all these particular things which are happening around the world. This problem has finally led to significant government intervention. In July 2002, President Bush signed into the law the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. According to the AICPA, this act will dramatically affect any auditor of a publicly held companies. Several significant regulations have been added that hopefully will allow accountants to regain the public's trust. In India also, there are similar developments. Setting up of a separate and independent regulatory body to assist in the framing and enforcement of legislation relating to accounting and auditing, and also improving investor and public confidence in the financial reporting of an entity. Supposedly, the need for this authority arose as a response to various corporate scams in recent times. Hence, 5 years after the Companies Act 2013, MCA, via its notification dated 1st October 2018, constituted National Financial Reporting Authority, an independent regulator to strengthen the audit profession and to provide for matters relating to accounting and auditing standards. Considering the above, through Section 132 of the Act, a new regulation authority, which is NFRA, introduced with an enhanced independent power to shift from the existing self-regulatory mechanism to an independent regulatory model. NFRA has been constituted as a quasi-judicial body with larger remit than NACAS, which only advised on accounting policies and standards. This is a little bit of history into the accounting profession, which I thought I should share with you all. Now let me move on to the mandatory auditor rotation debate, which has been going on. This debate, as I already explained, is nothing new, which has been happening, which we have already seen for the past few discussion, whatever that we had so far. Mainly the opponents and proponents of the mandatory rotation both have strong arguments regarding the issue. Most of the arguments for mandatory auditor rotation relate to expectations that the regulation will improve the independence and or quality of audits. The most predominant argument for audit firm rotation is that it will limit the formation of auditor-client relationships that can sometimes lead to compromising independence. As Chairman has mentioned, there were enough number of companies prior to this where the long relationship between the auditor and the company continued. Even in India, very known companies which have got long-standing relationship with the same auditor for quite long. Many proponents believe that working in such close proximity with management over several years can impair the judgment of auditors, causing them to indemnify with the interest of the management as opposed to those of the public. Mandatory rotation is also argued to help auditors get a fresh perspective on their clients' financial statements. Proponents of the rotation believe that after an auditor has spent several years with a client, his or her approach will get stale. The creativity that the auditor used at the beginning of the audit engagement has been compromised by the increased familiarity with the company's financial statements, systems, and controls. Moreover, not only will the individual auditor's approach become predictable and ineffective, so will the audit programs used to evaluate a company's financial statements and internal controls. A new rotation audit firm will bring in greater alertness and might be able to detect things in statements that the previous auditor might have overlooked. Now let us also see what the opponents to mandatory auditor rotation have to say on this. One of the most mentioned problems with auditor rotation is the added cost to the audit firm, the client, and consequently to the public. At the beginning of an audit engagement, various startup costs are incurred as the audit firm gathers information about the company and its systems and processes. The absorption of these initial costs could be considered as an investment to the audit firm if it believes that the relationship with the client could develop into a long-term one. However, if the company where an auditor has spent all the time and money into studying must obtain a new auditor every 5 years, then the audit firm has no reason not to pass on the incurred cost or the startup cost to its client. Furthermore, client companies will not bear these added costs alone, but will pass on them in the form of higher prices to the public. Furthermore, what may be more detrimental is that the auditors will stop specializing in specific industries as they realize that they must routinely abandon these industries that require them to gain specialized knowledge. Another argument against mandatory rotation is that the period of time for the engagement is not long enough. Of course, in India, under the Companies Act, it has been given 2 tenures of 5 years each, about 10 years. However, the researchers in various other countries and other things, the time which has been given was 5 years. Even in our case also, the time given is 5 years, but however, one more term can be extended. So the auditor may not be having knowledge whether the second term will be given or will not be given. So in his calculation also, this engagement term is not long enough. Since most modern businesses are large and complex, this short audit engagement does not give an audit firm enough time to get a thorough understanding of the company. Audit risks are reduced as the auditor becomes more familiar with the company. Since every 5 years, a firm would again have to go through another learning cycle, the likelihood of the problem audits would increase. Because of this shortness of the engagement, one more important point highlighted by the opponents of the rotation is that the quality of audits will be diminished because open relationships will be eliminated. Their contention is audits are conducted in an environment that promotes open discussion. The company and auditor communicate concerns regarding the accuracy of the financial reports. The company openly discloses the issues it faces, but this open dialogue with auditors, and it will help auditors also produce more quality audits. Opponents believe that this open communication results from the familiarity and comfortableness a client has with an audit firm. And this familiarity and comfortableness develops over time, cannot be overnight. Consequently, open communication will not be allowed to form with the imposition of the 5-year engagements. The arguments against mandatory rotation are much more numerous than the arguments for rotation. The opposition also has very strong arguments, but that should be expected because in any case, criticizing a proposed policy is often easier than developing a new one that addresses all the issues of concern. Now I would like to move on to the specific literature review which has been done, and also move on to the steps which I am going to take in future and seek your guidance in this regard. If you look at the literature review in Indonesia, in Indonesia, the research has happened where their observation is that the results do not support that mandatory audit rotation increases audit quality, or that a shorter audit tenure, both partner and firm level, increases audit quality. And so regulators may need to consider revising the regulation. This was the suggestion given by the researchers when in Indonesia, the audit mandatory rotation has been prescribed. However, after a few years, Indonesia has withdrawn that mandatory audit regulation. And there is another researcher who has done the research after the removal of this particular mandatory rotation. And his observation, please look at this, his observation is, in the mandatory audit rotation period, which is, he called it as a pre-period, there is no significant association between audit rotation and audit quality. But interestingly, we find a positive relationship between audit rotation and audit quality in the voluntary audit rotation post-period, which means if there's a mandatory rotation, there is no significant relationship. But when there is a voluntary audit rotation, they have a good relationship between the quality and the audit rotation. There was Marketa Tinnett has done an analysis of the mandatory auditor rotation debate which has happened. She has taken up the debates happening across the world, and they tried to mention here blindly implementing a drastic policy such as mandatory rotation and hoping for the best will do nothing but further deteriorate the integrity of audits. And what they suggested is mandatory rotation is simply a drastic step to take without the proof that the benefits are worth the added cost to the company and to the public. If you look at the various other countries, like in Bahrain, the result shows they have done a survey, a questionnaire has been circulated to all the stakeholders, and they have collected the opinion and analyzed the results. Opinions that revealed that the majority of auditors agreed that mandatory audit rotation could safeguard auditors' independence. This was in Bahrain. In Thailand, they have also concluded that mandatory audit rotation can improve audit quality in many ways, including bringing in the fresh audit perspective and by promoting auditor independence. In Spain, this is a very peculiar situation in Spain. I'll come to that particular peculiarity a little later. But here also in Spain, we find no evidence to support the hypothesis that the likelihood of issuing going concern opinions was higher in the mandatory rotation period. In Malaysia, the research findings indicated that the non-Big Four audit firms issued more qualified opinion. The association between the reputable audit firm and the rotation of the mandatory audit partner seemed very significant. Another researcher in Malaysia concluded that the long auditor tenure impair audit quality and independence. In Europe, the researchers has found and they commented that mandatory audit firm rotation will not be a cure for solving the problems on the audit market. It can at most serve as a placebo to satisfy the public reaction. This was the various comments given by the various researchers. In India, some of the researchers have done prior to this particular topic having been taken up by us. They have conducted a survey, but however, their survey was very limited to a particular area only. And they have commented in their opinion, what has happened was auditors' tendency of compromising independence be reduced in rotation regime. That was the comment which was ranked as the most preferable advantage. And Professor R. Narayan Swamy of IIM Bangalore, he has done research on the effect of mandatory audit firm rotation on audit quality, audit fee, and audit market rotation. He has come out to say that association between mandatory audit rotation and audit quality, mandatory audit rotation followed by initial year audit fee discounting effect of MAR on market concentration. It appears that evidence that firms for the years 2014 to 17 suggests that mandatory audit firm rotation does not appear to have improved audit quality and reduced audit costs and increased audit market competition. This was the conclusion arrived at by Professor R. Narayan Swamy in India. Thus, if you look at the various research conducted by the various researchers, there is a mixed reaction. There was no conclusive evidence whether this is right or this is wrong. It was all mixed. So now let us see what the regulators are contemplating and what the regulators have been thinking for the past so many years. We have already understood that they have been grappling with this idea for quite long. However, the rules also remain mixed here also. Europe requires mandatory audit firm rotation every 10 years for public interest entities, but member states can reduce or extend this particular period. China imposes a 5-year limit for state-owned entities and financial institutions. In India, it is every 4 years of government companies and financial institutions. that is prior to our Companies Act introduction. And from April 2017 onwards, 10 years for listed companies and some unlisted companies. This is 2 terms of 5 years each. It is not a continuous 10 years. It is a 2 terms of 5 years each. In Indonesia and South Korea, it is every 6 years for the listed companies. However, in Indonesia, it has been withdrawn later on. In Thailand, it is 5 years. In US, mandatory audit firm rotation has always been voted against. It has never been implemented. However, there is a mandatory audit firm rotation or not, there's often mandatory audit partner rotation in most of jurisdictions. One among them is US. In Malaysia, Australia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, and the US do not have mandatory audit firm rotation. In Singapore, locally incorporated banks previously had to rotate auditors after 5 years, but this policy was suspended in 2008 due to the global financial crisis. And this SGX listing rule 713 requires that audit partner in charge must rotate after 5 years, but may return after a break of 2 years. I was referring to you regarding Spain, which is a special status. Nothing special status which I'm talking about. What had happened was Spain introduced mandatory audit firm rotation every 9 years, starting in the year 1988. But even before that actually been implemented, the policy was abandoned within 7 years, that is in the year 1995. That was about what the regulators are thinking of and what these various studies are thinking of. But now let us concentrate a little bit on the audit quality. Ms. De Angelo has defined audit quality as a market-assessed joint probability that a given auditor will both detect material misstatements in the client's financial statements and report the overall misstatements. She has taken the process and the result into the definition of audit quality. But precisely, it is very difficult for us to define what an audit quality is. So this audit quality, the various researchers in their studies have taken different proxies as audit quality indicators. Some people have taken as a discretionary accruals, and some people taken as the earnings restatements, going concern opinions, audit fee, like that. Different audit proxies have been used to find out what exactly the audit quality indicator, to analyze their results, whatever that results which have been obtained through the statistical analysis. With all this, I found the research gap only to an extent, because I have already told you that there is a lot of study which has happened on this particular subject in many countries by many people for quite long. And also the various regulators have taken different stands at different timings. They changed their opinion, they changed their regulations. So there are so many things which have happened, but still I found a research gap. That is, after introduction of mandatory audit rotation in India in the year 2013 by the Companies Act, the only research to my knowledge done by was Professor Narayanan of IAMB. He has studied the samples only between 2014 and 2017. As we are all aware that 2014 to 2017, that is a transition period given for this mandatory audit rotation. So during that particular transition period, very less number of rotations must have taken place. And so I felt that the samples which he could take for this particular kind of research was very, very limited. By now, because the 7 years has happened and a good number of audit rotations have taken place, and hence this is the right time to investigate the results by increasing the sample size. If we take the sample of only the NSE listed 50 companies, there are more than 20-25 rotations which have taken place in the last 7 years. So now the number of rotations having taken up more. So I felt that this is the research gap which has been found, and we can contribute to the existing body of knowledge on this particular subject. The objective of the research study, when I have taken up this was my objective. Here I would like to tell you, this is only my way of looking at the things. As our chairman has put it in the initial speech, in his initial speech itself, that this research has to be a coordinated effort of everybody, and everybody's opinion is to be heard of in this kind of research article. Then only the credibility of this particular research study will be increasing. And so, I request every one of you to contribute to the study of this particular thing. So the objective which I have kept myself is that to explore and understand the perception and opinion of auditors, CFOs, and audit committees, audit committee chairman on the potential effects of implementation of mandatory auditor rotation, and examine how this regulation affected the audit quality. What I want to have an objective is that, to understand from the various stakeholders involved, that what is their opinion and what is their experience in the last 7 years on this particular mandatory audit rotation, because that itself is a big amount of knowledge that we can gain out of the experience of the various people involved in this particular whole process. To investigate their views in implementation of the mandatory audit rotation, I also want to examine whether anybody has got a different view. Like, for example, one of the researchers has pointed out that saying that, okay, this is a drastic step of giving for a small problem such a big cure, and impacting to without knowing into the other areas of impact. Whether any of our members also have similar views, whether this particular thing, the mandatory audit rotation, could have been introduced and implemented in a different manner than what has been done, whether any of them have got certain views on this particular thing, that also I wanted to collect from the various stakeholders. And then to test the relationship between the mandatory audit rotation and the level of auditor independency, because that is the main requirement of this particular mandatory audit rotation, that is to make the auditor more independent, whether we are able to achieve that kind of an objective for which that we are talking about. And these are the various research questions which I have in my mind. Does mandatory audit rotation of statutory auditors affect the quality of audit? Whether the desired objectives of improvement in quality of audit and improvement in independence of auditor, because we have seen the various deliberations which have happened from 1972 onwards, and whether it is of Naresh Chandra Committee's deliberations, everywhere it is talked about how to improve the independence of the auditor. Whether are we in a position to say that we have achieved by introduction of this mandatory audit rotation in India under the Companies Act 2013. What other measures are to be taken to improve the audit quality and auditors' independence? This is an open question to talk about, whether anybody has got any other ideas saying that, okay, how this quality of independence can be, in case is the mandatory audit rotation is not the correct solution or is not the only solution. It could be either way. It need not be the solution. It need not be the only solution. So my idea is to study that particular aspect, and hence whether anybody has got any other opinion to say that, okay, how the audit quality and auditor independence can be improved, by what kind of additional measures which this can be done and this can be achieved. And then whether mandatory rotation has helped in dispersion of audits to various firms, or just getting concentrated and circulated among the few larger firms. This is only what I call as a byproduct kind of a question which I love to get into this particular thing without getting diverted my attention from the audit quality, improvement of the audit quality. But this is also one of the aspects which I thought I should look at it. And in the research design, what I thought and we adopted is that I would like to use two sources of data, primary and secondary. Primary is based on the survey questionnaire from all stakeholders. According to one of the researchers, Cooper and Schindler, primary sources are authoritative because the information has not been filtered or interpreted, which means that it is very raw in its form and it is very fresh. In the sense, the data has been collected only for the specific purpose. So the primary data becomes an important data because it has been collected at the appropriate time, that is when the research is getting conducted, and also for specifically for this particular purpose, and hence the importance of the primary data. The secondary data is also important. Secondary data is nothing but data which has been collected by different people at different times for different purposes. So that we need to be clear that when we are analyzing the secondary data, we need to be very careful saying that under what circumstances that has been taken, under what, for what purposes that data has been collected and collated and kept ready for use by anybody. And in our case, secondary data is also the annual reports. By study of the annual reports, I thought that we should be able to get much more information of the audit quality on these particular things. We are also aware that our institute, Research Committee of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, has been giving the awards for best presented accounts, and this FRRB, Financial Review Regulation Board, which will be presenting awards for the best presented things, which means that the annual reports speak a lot on the quality of the audit also. So those are the main sources of information for me to understand better that what is the audit quality and how the quality has improved from this particular mandatory audit rotation. Now the questionnaire also will be prepared. I mean, I'm sure many of you will be getting a lot of questionnaires like market research or anything of that sort. And many of us, including myself, also must have said, sorry, now this is not the time for me to answer this. And I must have ignored such kind of questionnaires. But let me request all of you that this questionnaire, which is being sent to each one of you, with a request to spend a little time, because your voice is going to be heard, may not be individually, but collectively. Your voice is going to be heard, and your opinion is very, very valuable for me to take and put it in the final report, which is coming out in the days to come. So this questionnaire is going to be designed. The first section will consist of the demographic details, such as the qualification, experience, and who is the person who is answering, what is his experience, membership, and also whether it is employed or professionally employed or industry employment or professional practice. So all this information also throw up the certain analysis which we can do it, saying that the quality of this particular data based on the demographic details also can be analyzed in a better fashion. The second section will consist of the potential effects of the mandatory rotation upon audit independence. And the third one will have the cost implication of the mandatory rotation, because we have already seen while discussing the mandatory audit debate. In the debate, it has been mentioned, the opponents have mentioned that there's a lot of increase in the cost. So we need to understand the cost implication of this particular mandatory rotation also. So the questionnaire, I would like to include this mandatory rotation, cost implications of the mandatory rotation, and also the open questions like overall opinion on the subject. So this will be the questionnaire which will be having this particular details into the questionnaire, which will be circulated. And even in the methodology also, even in the research methodology, I've given all the steps which I'm going to take. First is that the study of the various research papers on the subject and understand their limitations and take their suggestions, because as I've already been mentioning, that this research has been conducted in different environments and in different timings with different backgrounds. And one of the researchers has pointed out that the mandatory audit rotation implementation is different in different places depending upon the institutional creditworthiness in the respective countries. That is, the institutional methodology, what we have, I mean, that is also plays an important role in implementation of this. And he has generalized, if I remember correct, he has generalized that in Asia, the institutionalization is very less, and hence the scope for this mandatory audit rotation is important, is what his comment is all about. To define and use more than one appropriate audit quality indicators and use them as a proxies for audit quality. Yes, this is a very difficult situation for me, and how to define these audit quality indicators. That is one of the major tasks for me in this particular whole process. And then define the hypothesis that mainly the hypothesis will be saying that the mandatory audit rotation has improved the quality, whether that is the null hypothesis which I have to take, or whether it has not improved the quality, whether that has been null hypothesis which I have to take. That all depends upon the studies which we make, the data which we collect. Based on that, the hypothesis will be made. And the collection of data by distributing this questionnaires, which I have already explained to you, these questionnaires will be sent to all the stakeholders, like professionals who are engaged in the profession, and CFOs, CEOs, and audit committee members and audit committee chairman. And then study of the various audited financial statements, audited reports, keeping the audit quality indicators as defined of different categories of companies and also signed by different categories of auditors. So these kind of annual reports, I am going through them. I've already collected a lot of annual reports for me to go through each and every audit annual report to understand the improvements in the quality which has happened through this rotation. Because some of the things cannot be done by only just by the various statistical techniques. Some of the things we have to go into the individual study, and individual material has to be studied in detail. Then only we'll be able to absorb what exactly the real situation. And then analyze the data and validate the hypothesis, and then finally draft the report. This is the total research methodology which I thought that I should be having this one. And as informed at the beginning, I request every one of you personally to take note of my contact details and send me a text message so that I shall be in a position to contact you. This is my sincere request to all the participants today, so that I will have larger database. If the data is large enough, then the results will be better. If the data is very small, always there will be a limitation which will be mentioned in the research report, that there's a limitation of data. So I sincerely request all the participants to make note of my email ID or WhatsApp number, so that if you can give me a text message, that I will have so much of resource to depend on. This will be a valuable input to me to proceed further. All your views will be recorded and taken into consideration. However, your privacy will be completely protected and nothing will be quoted with any individual name. In this regard, as Dr. Amit Agrawal has said this in the best opportunity created by the visionary chairman, because I thank the entire research committee of ICAI. They not only are giving me an opportunity to do the research, but they are guiding me in every step. And what a visionary thinking, that I need to have an interaction with many of you well in advance, so that I can take your opinion and views. This is, I sincerely personally thank our chairman of the research committee, Mr. Anuj Goyal ji, for his visionary thinking of providing the support, providing the guidance is different, but providing this kind of a support to guide me, to be guided by so many members of the profession, is a remarkable and appreciable thing, which I feel that I should be acknowledging very much in particular of this. I thank for conducting this VCM, the Chhattisgarh branch of the Central Institute of Regional Council of ICAI. And I thank one and all for giving me this opportunity. Over to Dr. Amit Agrawal ji, sir.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Krishnan ji. I welcome CABK Dad ji, our honorable leader of the profession from the city of Chittorgarh, known for Maharana Pratap. So welcome, sir, and past chairman of the Chittorgarh branch. So we are really grateful that CA BK Dart sir is here. So may I request BK Dart ji to say a few words on this occasion, and Dr. Mitawat.
Thank you, sir.
And in the meanwhile, let me introduce CA Praveen Kumar Singhal ji, past chairman of Gautam Buddha Nagar branch, Noida branch. He is a member of all the three institutes: Chartered Accountant, Company Secretary, Cost Accountant, MCOM, LLB, possessing each and every qualification. So, on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, on behalf of the Research Committee, and on behalf of the Chittorgarh branch, I welcome CA Praveen Singhal ji. We are having Rakesh Sisodia sir, our honorable chairman of Chittorgarh branch, Vaibhav Somani ji, our Dhan Kuber, and C.A.V. Ramakrishnan ji, very prominent chartered accountant from the city of Hyderabad, and of course C.A. B.K. Dart ji, our honorable past chairman of the branch. So may I request B.K. Dart ji to say a few words of this occasion.
Thank you, sir. I, on behalf of Chittorgarh branch of CIRC of ICAI, mention my deep sense of appreciation to our Central Council member CA Anuj Goyal, Chairman Research Committee of ICAI, and also our Central Council member CA Pramod Jibu, CCM, Vice Chairman Research Committee of ICAI, and our prominent speaker CA V Ramakrishna ji for delivering or for their explanation on the relevant topic for this workshop. I also like to thank Research Committee of ICAI for organizing this fruitful workshop on the given topic of virtual committee meeting on receiving suggestions on research proposal on impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality submitted under ICAI Research Project Scheme 2020-21 and giving us an opportunity to host the same. I also like to thank CA Praveen Singhal ji, past chairman Gautam Buddha Nagar, and also thanking towards Dr. Amit Kumar Agrawal ji, Secretary Research Committee, for moderating the seminar. Further, I am very grateful to all the members and available dignitaries present for taking part in this workshop. And I am also thanking to all the committee members of Chittorgarh branch for making it a successful one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, BK Dart ji, and we are having CA Praveen Kumar Singhal ji, our honorable past chairman of Noida branch. So may I request CA PK Singhal ji to say a few words on this occasion.
Thank you, Anuj ji. और ये जो टॉपिक लिया गया है कि रोटेशन ऑफ ऑडिटर, मैं समझता हूँ कि आज के समय में इसकी क्वालिटी के हिसाब से इसकी जरूरत है, क्योंकि जब तक इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ ऑडिटर नहीं होगा तब तक ये प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट होती रहेगी कि हम क्वालिटी नहीं दे पाएंगे. तो मैं अनुज गोयल से धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा, आपने इसको टॉपिक को लिया है और काफ़ी अच्छा इस पर मुझे जो सुना मैंने काफ़ी अच्छी नॉलेज रही और मेंबर्स का काफ़ी फायदा उठा पाएंगे. थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच.
And we are having some queries of Ramakrishna ji. K. Madhavan ji is having one query from the Chennai, close to your place. Rotation of auditors will be a very good internal control system as far as audit quality is concerned. Please share your opinion on this.
Yes, sir, I agree with you. I mean, as on date, as has been done by the various researchers, there are contradictory views on this particular thing. However, yes, as an auditor, mandatory audit rotation is improving the quality, because there is a proponents which are being talking about this as very clearly mentioning that the audit quality will increase basically because the total audit will be seen with a new pair of eyes and new knowledge is brought into the whole system of this particular audit, and thereby the quality of the audit will definitely improve on this particular thing. This is one of the major proponents of the mandatory audit rotation.
Yeah. Then Dinesh Kumar Sood ji from Simla is my very, very good friend, past chairman, Simla branch. I hope the research can go a long way in rotation of audits, even under other institutes, and maybe independent appointment of auditors, ensuring a transparent mechanism, and thus enhancing the quality of tax audits under the Income Tax Act and other audits of small private companies also. Krishnan ji.
Sir, actually, this question is not completely relating to the particular topic which we are having as on today. However, I would like to say, yes, that presently this mandatory audit rotation is not confined to the smaller companies, and the smaller companies can be having their own auditors, and their relationship can be continued, or whatever the way in which the present generation is being having that. The tax audits appointment, yes, the transparency of this particular thing will be achievable only when
screen pe kaun aa raha
hai? The appointment, the transparency of the appointment is very much important, and definitely that goes a long way. I mean, the first step itself is the transparency of appointment. Many of the researchers have conducted their research while examining this mandatory audit rotation. The transparency in their appointments also has been considered. But however, now presently the kind of system what we have for the appointment of the statutory auditors under the given under the Companies Act, so that is a system which goes on. And regarding the tax audits, it is the personnel, the management who will take the appointment into consideration. I'm sure I would also take up one of these particular questions as the research question, saying that okay, transparency of appointment is also one of the quality indicators. Thank you.
Friends, we are having the presence of our very prominent Central Council member, the chairman of Direct Tax Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, from the western part of the country, from the city of Pune, C.A. Chandrasekhar Chitle sir. So I welcome on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, on behalf of the Research Committee, and on behalf of the Chittorgarh branch. And may I request our Honorable Chitle sir to give his concluding remarks on this very, very important topic for the profession, impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality. Over to C.A. Chandrasekhar Chitle sir.
Thank you. I think speaker has covered various facets of this audit rotation. As far as worldwide experience is concerned, generally rather than audit rotation in UK, normally partner rotation is more relevant and more in vogue. And therefore, one has to seriously consider, because what is happening that as far as any firm of chartered accountants is concerned, it is consistently giving services to their clients, and generally a client and auditor relationship is built up. Now, when we say that, okay, it may be misused, but then whatever rules, regulations, they are applicable whether it is a changed auditor, whether it is continuing auditor. And it definitely gives more comfort because of very management services that has not been laid out on table by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Our institute has already presented our case, like for example, in case of presentation already figures which are there in the accounts and representation is made, or the appeals are returns are uploaded. Even in case of income tax hearings, GST hearings, what is done is the figures which are available in the accounts are presented before the authority, and wherever necessary, any management consultancy. And considering large number of small and medium chartered accountant practitioners, they are generally dependent on this tax practice also, and most of the audits are tax driven. Therefore, Institute has taken this view, and this view also draws support from various countries. So it becomes very convenient for the client to seek all these services from auditors, and it is therefore necessary that we take a review of it. Of course, as I understand that number of private companies have been spared from this particular rotation provision. It is made applicable to large public companies, in respect of public interest enterprises, which we call PIE companies, the institute also has recommended that let there be a joint audit, and in respect of joint audit, at least one firm should be a homegrown firm, so that the ideology which is propounded by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, that there should be 10 big firms from India, that will happen only if this law is amended to give scope for other Indian enterprises to grow. So we believe that under research committee, we can certainly think and review this particular thought process of rotation. And if at all one wants to use it, can we use it for the benefit of small and medium firms to become large? That also can be thought of. And I'm sure that in due course of time, the committee will come out with findings, and we will be, all of the professionals will be benefited by this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chitle sir. Thank you very much for your kind words, and I think it would be really fruitful for all of us. Then Satyajit Dhar sir from Kolkata. Ramakrishna ji, you are here with us?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I just stopped the video because the quality of the internet is down. I'm there.
Yeah. No problem. So, Satyajit Dhar ji from Kolkata, may we know what statistical tools will be used for hypothesis testing? Should I repeat?
Mainly, either SPSS or SASS tools are available, which I am depending upon a statistician whom I have been interacting with. So we'll be using these particular statistical tools, which are to be mainly, that is the intention as of now. But of course, that statistical tools utilization will be depending upon the data veracity that what we have worked. But I am very happy to receive such a question from one of our members, that which means that the kind of knowledge what our people have, definitely this will be a guiding factor for me, because statistical tools also are being talked about. I know that Institute also has brought out one publication on this particular statistical tools, which can be used by the research committee members. This one. So I'm glad for this question. But presently, my answer is that either SPSS or SASS tools are going to be utilized.
Yeah, may I request Dr. Amit Agarwalji, our Secretary of the Research Committee, to supplement.
Radhakrishnan sir, the question of the viewer is, what are the tools being used for this particular study to test this hypothesis? SPSS is one of the software. Within that software, which test particularly will be used? I think it's a early stage, because based on the first for any research, first one has to design the research questionnaires and data collection tools based on the availability and nature of the data research. Which test will be applied? It may be ANOVA, it may be chi-square test, it may be Z-square test, or it may be regression analysis. But it's all depend on the questions framed, the response received, and the data available with the researcher. Based on that data, it may be on Likert cell, it may be on binary yes, no kind of responses. So that tool for analysis is being used depends on the data so available. So this is one of the response of your query. And as rightly said by Ramakrishna sir, we have already conducted 2 of the basic module on fundamental of research tools used in SPSS and statistical tools used. And I'm proudly to share with you that under the able and visionary guidance of my chairman, this year we are coming out from 10th of July, we are coming out with the advanced module on statistical data analysis tools. That is already announced, and I would urge to the viewers, those who are really interested in academics and research, and those who has already gone through the fundamental course, should apply for this advanced module. And it's a 5-day training module, and they will be getting more insight on that which test, where and how to use these tests, and sample size selection and other tools also. So this is all about the theory.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Dr. Amit Agarwalji. One query of K. Gopal Subramanian ji. from Mumbai. Rather, he is asking how soon should the responses to the questionnaire needs to be sent to your good self for this. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the interest shown, sir. Definitely. I mean, as early as possible, because I'm just finalizing the questionnaire being prepared. Because my idea is, before sending the questionnaire to members across, first I'll make a pilot test study with a few experts and then communicate to them and then get the feedback on those particular questionnaire, so that then I can distribute it to the members at large. And so as soon as you receive it, at the earliest your convenience, if you can give it, that will be great, sir.
Yeah, to add on this, what Ramakrishna sir has already told, for any research, first we design a research tool, data collection tool, and that data collection tool is tested with a selected number of the respondents. And if needed, any mid-course correction can be done in research collection tools. He is rightly said that work we will be completing within this 2 weeks times, and then we will call the response from the members at large.
Yeah. Then Raja Sekhar from Bengaluru is also having one suggestion, rather, the questionnaire to be sent to big investors and shareholders.
Okay. Point noted, sir.
Yeah. So I think we can try to.
Yeah.
Researcher can try to see. So anything you want to say?
Yes, sir. So it is a Ramakrishnan sir. It's a suggestion it's a valid suggestion that we should have different kind of audience and respondent, different questionnaire tools we can prepare, because that's as a CFO side, some person have different expectation from rotation of auditors. From auditor point of view, there may be some other expectations and suggestions. And as a regulator side also, our members are in regulatory bodies also. So from regulator perspective also, we can design. So an international scenario, we can also see what is the international scenario and what is the expectation of international institutional investors also. Because ultimately, very purpose of having any audit document or any annual report audited by our chartered accountant is to protect the interest of investors. So we should keep in mind the whole category of, it may be retail investor, it may be institutional, or it may be foreign investor. So we should keep in mind while designing the work questionnaire. So this is about this particular query.
So
well noted,
thank you, Dr. Amit Agrawalji. Yeah, and thank you, Krishna ji, and thank you, our team of Chittorgarh branch, a very prominent branch of the central region and the state of Rajasthan, Chittorgarh branch. And we are, of course, grateful indebted to our Honorable Central Council member, the Chairman of Direct Tax Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India from the Western region, from the city of Pune, Chandrasekhar Chitle sir, for his kind presence and the concluding remarks. And of course, we are having the presence of CA Praveen Kumar Singhal ji, past chairman, Noida branch, one of the biggest branch of our central region. Like the Pune branch is one of the biggest branch of the Western region. In the same way, Noida branch is also one of the biggest branch of the central region. The past chairman of the branch, Praveen Kumar Singhal ji, and all our honorable managing committee members of Chittorgarh branch, the chairman Rakesh Sisodia ji, Nirav Doshi ji, past chairman and Sikasa chairman, Vaibhav Somani ji, Dhan Kuber of Chittor branch, and of course Yogesh Kabra ji is not present, vice chairman, BK Raj ji, past chairman and secretary of Chittorgarh branch, and Ramakrishna ji, our very prominent and learned resource person who is making this study on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, on behalf of the research committee on impact of mandatory rotation of auditors on audit quality. Dr. Amit Agrawal ji want to say something?
Sir, with the permission of the chairman, I would take opportunity to urge all the viewers that either form, whether you are in an industry or as an auditor, you are connected with the industries and the corporates. So I would request all of you that the Excellence in Financial Reporting Award, the deadline of submission of the nomination is 30th of September. So I would request all of you to kindly get more number of the nominations. We have already circulated each and every branch the brochure and everything. I would urge Chittorgarh branch kindly host this brochure on your website so that more participation receive, so that this Excellence in Financial Reporting Award was initiated way back in 1958. It's a very, very prestigious award. So through this, if we disseminate this information among all the corporates and larger number of participants is there, then really something good we can achieve. It would be really a excellency in financial reporting, because the very purpose of having this award is through the excellency in reporting by one entity, it can be replicated by other entities. They can learn from the experience of good reporting by entities. I think you people, I think can disseminate this information to the corporates to whom you are connected as an employee or as an auditor or as a consultant. So I would request all of you on behalf of the research committee, kindly disseminate this information. We will be sharing all of you the link of this prospectus, link of the nomination, and if we take a small pain to disseminate this information to the corporates, I think this year we will be receiving a whose responsibility has already entrusted on my soldier and my colleague Amit Agrawal soldier by the Honorable Chairman, that this year would be the highest number of the nominations. So I am a little bit worried that, but I am sure that with your active participation and your support and your blessings, this year we will achieve a new height. We will receive more number of nominations, and we will be in a better position this year under the able guidance of the chairman, C. Anuj Goyalji. We have conducted a 7-day training program for technical review. This is the first time in the history of ICAI when this award is very, very having a legacy. It's a 1958 award, so it's already completed many years, and it is continuing to happening. So to improve the evaluation process, we had a 7-day training program across the country. So I think kudos to my chairman for this wonderful thought process and visionary direction to the secretary. With these words, I also thank to Honorable Council Member and very senior member of the profession, C.V. Chitle sir, who is the chairman of Direct Tax Committee, and earlier he was chairman of CLCGC Committee, and he's contributing for the profession. And I think he's the person who can guide us, and he's readily available for any guidance to the office, to the members. And we have the presence of Singalji, the past chairman of Noida branch, and my chairman, C. Anuj Goyalji. Over to my chairman, C. Anuj Goyalji.
So thank you, Dr. Amit Agrawalji, and I am quite confident the initiatives which the research committee has taken. Of course, ICAI International Research Award, the highest number of nominations we have got. It is, I think that it is the only cross-border award, the biggest cross-border award. And we have got the best of the response. The IFAC president is the chairman of the jury, and we intend to have this award ceremony on 25th of August. And then ICAI Research Project Scheme. We are getting very, very good response. For the first time in the history of the institute, we launched the ICAI Research Project Scheme. And last year, we got very, very good response. This year also, we are getting very, very good response in spite of the year affected by the corona pandemic. And ICAI Research Doctoral Scheme, very, very important research doctoral scheme for the young chartered accountants. And so I am quite confident that we will get the support of all the chartered accountants. Close to 3,000 chartered accountants are live in today's virtual CPE program. So on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, on behalf of the research committee, I'm really grateful, really indebted to all of you for your kind presence and making this program very, very interactive. So thank you very much. Please take very, very good care of yourself and your family members in this time of crisis. And I will request all of you to get yourself vaccinated along with your family members at the earliest. Our branches are trying their level best to have the vaccination drive so that we can fight from this corona pandemic in a very, very effective manner. So thank you very much, Chitle sir. Thank you very much, Praveen sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Amit Agrawalji. Thank you very much, C. Amit Agrawalji. Thank you very much, Kunal Sharma ji, and the team of Chittorgarh branch, led by C. Rakesh Sisodia ji, the chairman of Chittorgarh branch, Nirav Doshi ji, my friend, and the past chairman of Chittorgarh branch and the Sikasa chairman, Vaibhav Somani ji, our Dhan Kuber of Chittorgarh branch, and BK Dad ji, secretary and past chairman of Chittorgarh branch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Very good evening.
Thank you, sir.